Hello everyone. Today we're working with Unit 4, Reading for Pleasure. Okay? Let's start by learning the types of books. Let's listen.
Page 38. Exercise A. Vocabulary. Types of books. Read and listen. Fiction.
A novel, a mystery, a thriller, a romance novel, science fiction, short stories,
Nonfiction.
A biography, an autobiography, a travel book, a memoir, a self-help book.
Okay, as you can see, we have some categories of books, and let's answer these questions for the class. Do you prefer fiction or non-fiction? Have you ever read a book in English? How about a magazine or a newspaper? If not, what would you like to read and why? Okay, we have some topic to talk in here. Okay, let's listen to a conversation, okay, of two friends in a bookstore. Okay, um, let's check the vocabulary and the phrases that you might use in a bookstore.
Page 39. Exercise C. Photo story. Read and listen to a conversation between two friends at a bookstore.
Hey, Sophie. I've never run into you here before.
Lynn, good to see you. Looking for anything special?
No, I'm just browsing. How about you?
I'm just picking up some gardening magazines for my mom. She can't get enough of them. So, anything interesting?
This one doesn't look bad. It's a biography of Helen Keller. What about you? Are you reading anything good these days?
Well, I've got a new mystery on my night table, but I can't seem to get into it. I guess mysteries just aren't my thing.
I know what you mean. They put me to sleep.
Well, you're a big reader. I wonder if you could recommend something for me.
Have you read the new John Grisham thriller?
No, I haven't. I didn't know he had a new book out.
Well, I can't put it down. It's a real page-turner.
Thanks for the tip. Do you think I could borrow it when you're done with it?
Of course. If you can wait till the end of the week, I'd be happy to lend it to you.
So, um, let's see. Um, what percentage of your total reading time do you spend on the following reading materials? Okay. For example, I spend 10% of my time reading magazines, for example, or I spend 50% reading on the internet. Okay. We're going to talk about that in class. Here we have how to recommend a book. Okay, to do so, we should learn how to describe a book. Okay, and this is some vocabulary regarding descriptions of books. So, let's listen.
Page 40. Vocabulary. Ways to describe a book. Exercise A. Read and listen.
A page turner. A cliffhanger. A bestseller. A fast read. Hard to follow. Trash.
Okay, those are some adjectives to describe books. And we have in here in grammar the noun clause. Okay, the noun clause is typical in our everyday conversations, and I'm sure we know how to use them already. So, for example, I didn't know that he wrote that book. Okay, that clause of that he wrote that book is the noun clause. Okay, and you can omit the that. Okay, when you're using a noun clause as a direct object. For example, I didn't know he wrote that book. I didn't know that he wrote that book. Okay. In short answers, you can um, you can, let's say, you can omit all that noun clause just by using the word so. For example, does Stephen King have a new book out? I think so. I think that he has a new book out. I think so. Okay. Okay. Um, so let's say here we have a conversation model of some people recommending a book. Okay, so let's listen.
Page 41. Conversation model. Exercise A. Read and listen to someone recommend a book.
Have you been reading anything interesting lately?
Actually, I'm reading a thriller called Don't Close Your Eyes.
I've never heard of that one. Is it any good?
Oh, I think it's great. It's a cliffhanger. How about you?
I've just finished a Hemingway novel, The Old Man in the Sea. I highly recommend it.
So here we can see some vocabulary like I highly recommend it. Okay. Is it any good? For example, I think it's great. Okay. So that's it. That's how we recommend books. Then we have offer to lend something. Okay. I have something. I would like to lend it to you. So let's listen to the conversation.
Page 42. Conversation model. Exercise A. Read and listen to someone offering to lend a magazine.
Is that the latest issue of Car Magazine?
Yes, it is.
Could you tell me where you bought it? I can't find it anywhere.
At the newsstand across the street. But I think it's sold out.
Too bad. There's an article in there I'm dying to read.
You know, I'd be happy to lend it to you when I'm done with it.
Really? That would be great. Thanks.
So, basically the phrase was, I'd be happy to lend it to you when I'm done with it. Okay? Maybe there's some more vocabulary here that we could um, talk about in class. So, um, as for grammar, we have embedded questions in a phrase. Okay? For example, is that magazine any good? You can embed the question in a sentence. For example, tell me if that magazine is any good. Oh, please tell me if that magazine is any good. Okay? With the if or the whether, which is the same, if and whether is the same, you can embed yes no questions. Okay? For example, did he like the article? Or have you finished that newspaper? Excuse me, could you tell me if you finished that newspaper? Okay, it's another way not to ask a pure yes no question, but with um, some kind of, I don't know, extra words to make it sound more polite. So use a question word to begin embedded information question. Okay, for example, what's the article about? Tell me what the article is about. Okay? Why did you decide to read it? Could you tell me why you decided to read it? Okay? In this case, since we're not using the if or whether word, okay, we're using why, the same word, why, what, who, whose, when, where, but we're going to use a natural sentence, okay, not a question. For example, um, when was it written? Could you tell me when it was written? Okay, so that's some kind of a wicked grammar that we have in here. And we have a survey that probably you have done before. What kinds of materials do you like to read? Magazines and newspapers sections. Okay, we're going to talk about that today also. Describe your reading habits. Okay, there are some words to describe how do you like reading. Okay, let's listen to the vocabulary.
Page 44. Before you listen. Exercise A. Vocabulary. Some ways to enjoy reading. Read and listen.
Curl up with a book.
Read aloud to someone. Listen to audiobooks. Do puzzles.
Read articles online. Skim through a newspaper. Read electronic books. Read e-books.
So, those are ways to enjoy reading. Okay, here we have another survey that leads us to explain our how we enjoy reading. So, what are your reading habits? Okay, do you consider yourself to be a big reader? Why or why not? Do you have any favorite authors? Who are they? Do you prefer any particular type of books? Which types? Okay, so you might answer yes or no. I mean, do you have any favorite authors? No, I don't. I just read whatever people recommend, for example, okay? Then we have a discussion, okay? Discuss the quality of reading material. And we have a reading in here that we're going to turn into a listening. So, for example, the first question is, do you or does anyone you know read comics? Do you think there's value in reading them? Okay, that is an opinion. Okay, to me, comics are trash, or to me, comics are interesting, or to me, comics are boring. Okay, let's read and let's listen the article. Okay,
Page 46. Reading. Read and listen.
Comics, trash or treasure. In Japan, they're known as manga. In Latin America, historietas or historias en cuadrinos. In Italy, fumetti. Some people call them graphic novels. But no matter what you call them, comics are a favorite source of reading pleasure for millions in many parts of the world. In case you're wondering how popular they are, the best-selling comic in the U.S. sells about 4.5 million copies a year. Mexico's comic titles sell over 7 million copies a week. But Japan is by far the leading publisher of comics in the world. Manga account for nearly 40% of all the books and magazines published in Japan each year. Ever since comics first appeared, there have been people who have criticized them. In the 1940s and 50s, many people believed that comics were immoral and that they caused bad behavior among young people. Even today, many question whether young people should read them at all. They argue that reading comics encourages bad reading habits. In more recent years, some comics have been criticized for including violence and sexual content. On the other hand, some educators see comics as a way to get teenagers to choose reading instead of television and video games. And because of the art, a number of educators have argued that comics are a great way to get children to think creatively. Some recent research has suggested that the combination of visuals and text in comics may be one reason young people handle computers and related software so easily. In many places, comics have been a convenient way to communicate social or political information. For example, in the 1990s, comics were used by the Brazilian Health Ministry to communicate information about AIDS. In Japan, the Education Ministry calls comics a part of Japan's national culture, recognized and highly regarded abroad. Comics are increasingly being used for educational purposes, and many publishers there see them as a useful way of teaching history and other subjects. No matter how you view them, comics remain a guilty pleasure for millions worldwide.
So, comics, okay? I think that readers, formal readers, like the readers of books, novels, without images, are the ones who say that this is not good reading because it has pictures or drawings. Okay, we're going to talk about that in class. Okay, maybe for example, answering these questions like um, what point of view do you think the writer of the article has about comics? Okay, do you think that she likes them or not? Why do you think comics are so popular around the world? Why do you think Japanese manga are so popular outside of Japan? Why do you think some people find reading comics a guilty pleasure? Okay, so we might talk about that and do this um survey. Okay, for example, comics, who reads them? Are they trash, to your opinion? Why? Okay, teen magazines, who reads them? Are they trash? And the reasons why. Okay, we might talk about that. Oof, there's a lot of talking material in here. Okay, um, let's see. To finish today's class, we're going to watch the videos and listen to the song. Okay, let's see. After this, we're going to finish. So I tell you goodbye. Okay, have a nice day.
Hello, Bob. Dining alone?
Paul and Marie went to get newspapers.
Do you mind if I join you?
Oh, please, sit down.
May I ask what you're reading?
A history of the world.
The bestseller? I'm very impressed. Reading nonfiction over lunch? I hear that it's a very difficult book.
No, it's a pretty easy read. I can't put it down, actually.
A real page turner, huh? Do you think I could borrow it when you're done?
Sure.
I usually prefer fiction myself. You know, thrillers, mysteries. There's nothing like curling up with a good science fiction novel, is there?
You read science fiction too?
Don't tell anyone. Are you learning a lot from your book?
Yeah, I think so.
So, tell me what you're reading about right now.
This part is about Great Britain.
Really? Do you mind if I take a look?
Cheryl hates when I read comics.
Then I can understand why you can't put the book down. You think that I could borrow it then?
Well, I'm still reading this one, but I have another one I can loan you.
I meant this one.
Oh. Help yourself.
Look at this. The paper says that a tornado carried a woman for 300 miles and she lived to tell about it.
I'm not sure if you know this, but that story isn't true.
It's in the paper. It must be true.
That paper is trash. I can't believe you're reading it.
What do you mean?
It's fiction. It's not news. Nothing in there is true. If you want real news, you have to read this paper.
That paper is boring. This one's much more interesting.
Woman gives birth to cow. Man builds house from bread. Baby with two heads? Come on, this is offensive.
Storm kills 100 in Texas. Train accident kills 5, injures more. Man kills wife and son. I'm sorry, but all that death and destruction is pretty offensive to me.
I know that these things happened, and I know that those didn't.
You don't know that. You just assume that it's true.
Let's ask Bob and Mr. Evans what paper they read. Never mind. Let's just read.
That sounds good to me. Look at this. A man with 4 legs.
Do you folks do a lot of reading?
She does. I do particularly, yeah. I like to read novels and mystery stories, sometimes travel stories.
Do you buy books or do you get them from the library?
I buy books and I tend to trade them with friends.
How about books on tape?
I tried that. They put me to sleep.
So, novels. You like to read fiction. Who are some of your favorite authors?
Well, I just read Nick Hornby, How to Be Good, which was probably the funniest book I've ever read.
Would you say it's a real page-turner?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, belly laughs on every page.
So do you read anything else like newspapers or magazines?
I do read magazines, yes.
Yeah. Could you tell me, let's see, what sorts of magazines you like to read?
Fashion. I enjoy fashion. Details, actually.
How about how-to magazines? Do you ever buy magazines about home repair or cooking, for instance?
I buy my husband magazines on how-to magazines. He's the one that's good at fixing things and repair and even cooking.
How about newspapers? Do you read a newspaper?
The New York Times when I'm home.
Okay. And what part of the newspaper is most important to you?
The front page and Arts and Leisure.
The story of our lives is a real page-turner, and we both know what it's all about. It's a fast read, but I'm a slow learner, and I wanna see how it all turns out. It's a true life story, I can't put it down. If you wanna know who's in it, just look around. The story of our lives is a real cliffhanger. It's hard to follow, but boy, does it pack a thrill. A roller coaster ride of love and anger. And if you don't write it, baby, then I will. It's a true life story, I can't put it down. If you wanna know who's in it, just look around. You can't judge judge a book by its cover. I wonder what you're going to discover when you read between the lines. You never know what you might find. It's not a poem or a romance novel. It's not a memoir or a self-help book. If that's what you like, baby, please don't bother. If you want the truth, take another look. It's a true life story, I can't put it down. If you wanna know who's in it, just look around. It's a true life story, I can't put it down. If you wanna know who's in it, just look